Hi Aries, how are you? It's me, Lauren B. Welcome to the Untitled Tarot. I'm here to do your monthly birthday reading for April. For those of you that are new, I do all of the zodiac sign monthlies on my Patreon, but whoever's birthday month it is, I like to gift it the big reading over here on YouTube for you guys. I'm going to use the Rider-Waite Tarot. I like to use the traditional deck for the monthlies. You have very interesting downloads, Aries, that have been following me all day. They are quite unusual, and I feel as though you might have a very unusual April. So I want to pray, and then we'll break it down. Father God, thank you for bringing me and my Aries in today for this monthly reading. I ask that you give me wisdom, clarity, and discernment to deliver these messages accurately for Aries' highest of love, light, alignment, and assignment. We praise you, we love you, we thank you always. To the utmost high, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen, Aries. So, I woke up this morning, Aries, and all morning I keep hearing, but I am strange and unusual. I am strange and unusual. Strange and unusual. And I was like, what is that from? That's from a movie. Like, what is that from? And I realized that's from Beetlejuice. When the girl Lydia first comes across the ghosts in her house, and they're walking around in sheets, right? Almost like comical. It's like these ghosts in like a very comical presentation, display of themselves, and she's not even frightened of them, and she starts taking Polaroids, and she pulls the sheets off of them, and they go, how can you see us? How can you see us? And she goes, I was looking in the handbook for the recently deceased, and it said that people normally can't see or notice the strange and unusual, but I myself am strange and unusual. So I don't know if you are becoming more sensitive to perhaps your mediumship abilities. Those are coming online for you in April, or there is some kind of strange and unusual occurrence. It seems like there might be some strange and unusual occurrences that may happen for you in April, but there isn't a sense of fear. There's more of a sense of curiosity. And there's that saying, curiosity killed the cat, but there's another half of that saying, and most people don't know it. The full phrase is curiosity killed the cat, ... but satisfaction brought it back. So there's something about, maybe there's members or aspects of your spirit team or your ancestral lineage that are coming back. And there's something about the way they are going to present themselves to you in April that is going to be very comical or amusing to you, but may seem strange and unusual if it were to happen to anyone else. But you are a little bit strange and unusual, Aries. So, and it's also interesting to me is that I looked up the meaning of the name Lydia, and it means the beautiful one or the noble one. There's something about the way you've been conducting yourself lately that is very noble. It's very like morally upright. You're in good standing with spirit in April, and because of that, you're gaining access to a higher echelon of spiritual abilities, some of which may be mediumship. Now, you have the Empress in reverse that's coming out first and foremost, which is interesting. You may have actually been feeling a little bit disconnected because the Empress talks all about your divinity. It's the highest ranking of your divinity. So you might have actually been feeling a little disconnected from your intuition or from your guides, not receiving as many intuitive hits, signs, synchronicities, angel numbers, stuff like that. And it's almost the idea that you had been operating under a lot of spiritual practices, but perhaps in March, with all that Pisces water energy, it almost like put you back down on earth. It's almost like in March, it feels like you had to relearn how to be a normal person again, but with all of this spiritual knowledge. And there was some kind of disconnect there, perhaps for you. But it seems like certain things are coming online. Almost I feel like some of you, I just want to go back to normal. But there's this idea of you've been integrating into a new normal, which you perhaps haven't been realizing. But there is this sense of feeling a little disconnected, maybe asking questions and not receiving the answers that you want, because the Empress is also very blessed and very abundant as well. So maybe you feel like you've been missing some opportunities. You've been missing some blessings in March. Going into April, going into your birthday season, I feel like things would have picked up by now. I feel like things would have picked up by now. And I also got this download this morning about the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise and the hare, that you perhaps are used to, as a fire sign, as the Emperor, like to be operating more as the hare, something that moves, right? Bunnies, rabbits, they're very fertile. They represent blessing and abundance, but they move very quickly. Hop, 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 right? But you've instead, through Pisces seasons, become more of a turtle, become more of a tortoise. You've been moving a lot slower through your processes, which I think was to help you bridge your humanity, integrate it back in with your higher self, because it does feel a little bit like you were floating off into space and you were forgetting how to operate within like normal practical society. And there does need to be a balance between the two. And so while it may have felt as though there were blessings, opportunities kind of passing you by, feeling a little disconnected from your intuition or your spiritual support team, what was actually happening is that they were slowing you down, I feel as though, so you wouldn't burn out and lose steam. Because at the end of that story, that parable, that fable, is that the tortoise actually ends up winning that race because they move slower. So they don't burn themselves out, they don't go on weird detours. Does that make sense? There's something about that. And because you kind of took it in stride, I think it's common for a fire sign, and I know because I got a lot of fire placements, it's normal for a fire sign to kind of get upset and try and like push past it like a fireball, but instead, I think you kind of sat with it, processed it, really had to fall back and trust in divine timing. And the way that you operated in that was very noble. You processed it and you kind of took it in stride in a really beautiful Lydia kind of way. And because of that, it's almost like you gained access through maturity and trust and faith into this higher echelon of spirituality. It's almost like you jumped a rung of the ladder. Page of Wands, what did I say? Using how to use. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. I was going to say learning how to use your fire in a new way, but using how to use. Hold on. There's something about not just harnessing your fire, but it's the intent behind how you use your gifts and your abilities that have been coming online for you, gifts that you already had. It's the idea of they wanted you to take what you already knew and start operating in a different narrative, in a different mindset, in a different energy. And now you're getting the extra, because pages are student energies. And it's also realizing that sometimes we think that we have all the answers, which is very much Emperor energy right through our experience. And this is kind of realizing that nothing can take away your divinity, but when we are presented with new information, with new schools of thought, with new experiences, it can change how much we thought we already knew. And then sometimes we feel like we have to go back to the drawing board. And that requires us to harness our natural energy signature, such as fire, air, earth, water, in an entirely new way. It does feel like you went through, because I'm hearing forged by fire, and they're showing me like a sword that gets put into the fire before it gets stuck into the cold water. Okay, that's really interesting. Hold for production. It's also how you're being used, but the word that's coming through is utilized. In April, you're going to find yourself, the gifts and abilities that you use and operate in, you are becoming more of a conduit for spirit. Before, it felt a little bit like you were, and maybe that's part of this disconnect and having to operate in more of a noble aspect. It's the idea that you had gifts and abilities before and you were kind of using them the way that you wanted to use them, perhaps to accelerate your own manifestations and your own processes. But in April, the use to use, you are allowing yourself to be used or utilized by spiritual and divine energies for the missions and the purposes that they have. It's not, I think you realize it's not just about you anymore. It's not using your gifts and abilities just to further your own agenda, but to operate on more of a collective basis. I feel like they want me to use an example of that. It's almost like, say you are a tarot reader, Aries, and you read for the collective energies, right? But your main goal in reading for the collective is to advance your own interests, such as gaining money, expanding your platform, followers, likes, views, all of that stuff, as opposed to walking into the reading really trying to be a conduit of assistance and help and healing to other people. That even though you're Reading for other people, the focus in the back of your mind is still on you. This is changing that, creating more of a noble construct on how you use and are utilized in the field that you are. It's just an example. I know not all of you do like spiritual work like this. Some of you work in like medical fields. Some of you work in medical fields. They're showing me nurses right now. Nurses and nursing homes. And part of this mediumship ability that's coming online for you in April, or being expanded for you in April, is to help some of your patients. I don't know how that ties into Hippo, but it's how you help some of your patients cross over, like in their end of life, because they're showing me like hospice. They're showing me hospice. Queen of Cups, nurturing. This is all about nurturing. Pouring into other people's cup, being receptive to other people's emotions. This is also the most intuitive queen. It's an extremely psychic queen. Seeing how other people are kind of closed off too, because in some decks, this chalice that she holds, it's open and it's overflowing, but in this one, it's closed up. Being able to recognize ways in which other people are closed up and ways in which they are blocked. It could be how certain spirits, because they're showing me entities, they're showing me spirits, and then they're showing me people, and how there's a blockage in between them giving and receiving and exchanging messages. You seeing the blockage in that, whether it's people don't believe enough in spirituality to open up their kind of channel to receive messages. Newer spirits not having enough experience on the other side to know how to appropriately kind of come through. For those of you that have the abilities, I've experienced kind of newer spirits that when they try and come in and connect, they do so forcefully in a way that can be kind of like shocking or off-putting, and that can throw whoever is trying to receive the messages, the channeler, kind of, it can scare you. And when that happens, you have like an adrenaline pump, and then that disconnects the channel. I don't know if that makes sense. For those of you that know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But there's something about you being able to recognize blockages between people and spirit, whether it's ancestral or whether it's more expanded of the ideas such as God, angels, archangels, that kind of thing, and being able to figure out how to open up this chalice. And the way that you do it is through harnessing your fire in a different way, because it's not just for your own agenda. Very interesting. And again, it's like strange and unusual, but you are kind of strange and unusual. But it feels as though it's interesting, because those ghosts in the Beetlejuice movie, they're covered in sheets. So there's something that is very paranormal, but they're covered in something that is very normal. So again, that's like you maybe being a nurse, or a teacher, or working in some kind of hospice, that kind of thing, and you look just like an average Joe. You look just like an average person, but inside there is like this whole galaxy of magic happening inside of you that other people wouldn't be able to ascertain. They wouldn't be able to notice that about you, but you're able to notice these strange synchronicities around you. But there was a sense that, like I said, again, to reiterate, that before, the way you were operating and using your gifts and abilities, it was more about you and your manifestations and your agenda, and not so much kind of broadening that perspective and putting more of the focus on other people, having the trust and faith that as you serve others, spirit will come in and take care of you as they sort of need to. You have the Three of Wands in reverse. Now, did you quit? You might have quit, like your spiritual work, because the Three of Wands talks about making preparations and getting like on with your mission. The 2 is when you choose a path. The 3 is when you make the preparations and you set forth on it. And then the 4 of Wands is when you kind of put your bags down, you set up shop, you set foundation, you start planting those roots. Which is why then, I don't know why I feel they need to go through it, which is why the 5 of Wands represent conflict, competition, all that kind of stuff, because this is you having to establish your reign over that territory. This is my house, this is my territory, this is my thing, this is my family, I have to protect it, right? And then when you overcome that battle, that's when you move into the 6 of Wands, which is the recognition, it is the victory, it is the success. I don't know why they're having me, again, maybe it's this tortoise and the hare thing, making these little baby steps without realizing it, because it feels as though you felt as though there have been some kind of, it feels like you had to work through your own blocks, Aries, in order to recognize the blocks in other people and help them overcome them, because this is you feeling as though you're not connected to the blessing, not connected to the abundance, and also not being able to connect to your spirit team, because again, the Empress is like the highest level of divinity that you can reach before you move into the High Priestess. So there's something about that and how not real, feeling as though spirit was holding you back, but in actuality, there was a certain amount of a purge or a death process or a forged by fire refining process that had to happen in your human state, because it had to do with the flesh. It had to do with your ego. It had to do with your shadow. And those aren't things that we necessarily have to operate in, floating around in the ethers. That's something that we have to, that's internal work that has to be done down here on earth. So they kind of grounded you. And now they're showing me like someone sitting on a bed and like a door closing, like they grounded you in order for you to do this work. It's almost like when your parents ground you when you're little and you have nothing to do except for clean your room and do your homework. It's that kind of energy. So there's this sense of like, I'm in trouble. They won't talk to me. I'm asking questions. They won't give me any of that. My spiritual gifts aren't really like operating in the way that they used to. I just want to go back to normal, that kind of thing. And they're like, oh, no. Like, it's a new normal now. Like, we're creating, they're showing me the Hierophant card. There's like a new normal. There's a new structure coming in for you. And it's based off of the intention of how and why you have gifts to begin with and how they're meant to be utilized for the greater good. It's not just about you. And so while you felt as though maybe you've hit some delays in order to move forward with your own agenda, I think and again, they want me to remind you that you really took this in stride, that in the past you would not have taken this in stride. You really would have tried to like fight the system on it, but you can't really fight the universe on stuff like that. They don't really haggle. That you actually took it in stride, and there was a very noble and responsible, and I'm also respectful, approach to it that you took. And because of that, you got to kind of ascend a little bit higher than you were realizing. And because of that, that was the actual block that you were having. It was a little bit of that, well, what about me? And they're like, we'll take care of you. What about everyone else that you're supposed to be helping on both sides of the veil? It's that kind of energy. And because you were very regal and noble and morally upright, the way that you approached it, it's almost like you passed the test. You passed the test, Aries, in April. And now you've been able to remove, and I don't even think you realized you were doing any of this. I thought you were just like, the universe is spanking me and I just have to sit here and I just have to take it like a big boy, like a big girl, right? But you worked through it in a very noble and regal way. And so now you actually get to have that blockage removed for you, which is enhancing your psychic and intuitive abilities, which is now allowing you to go forward and help more people more efficiently and more effectively by recognizing their own blockages. You were too much in the spirit, and there was something about the disconnect from your own humanity. And technically this 3 of Wands also falls into your 4th house of home. So there might have been some actual like physical changes that you wanted to make in your home life, and you were not able to do it. But it feels like the whole process is accelerating for you now, because the 10 of Wands in reverse is coming out. And technically, I kind of want to put this in your 5th house of pleasures, which is putting down any burdens. It's also, it's very much of a picking your battles. You're picking your battles much more effectively and appropriately in April, in your birthday month. And I mean, who wants to like fight with people on their birthday month? But some of these even have to do with like spiritual battles. When you're really in the thick of it, like spiritual warfare, psychic attack, all of that kind of stuff, oftentimes it feels like you have to fight every single one of these battles. And this is also you realizing when to pull out and when to reserve your natural fire energy. They're saying fireballs, your fire energy, and when to let spirit kind of fight some of these battles, what is and is not worth your energy. And because it falls in your 5th house of pleasures, it's the idea of really that peace is priceless. Your peace is priceless, and some things just aren't worth the aggravation. Some things just aren't worth the aggravation for you, because Page of Cups, beautiful. You have the Page of Cups technically in your 6th house, and the 6th house is that Virgo energy. So it's really detail oriented. It has to do with the day to day, and this page is a student energy. So this is you learning on a day-to-day basis how to sit with more of an open mind and an open heart. Try to have more empathy and forgiveness and understanding for other people as you are trying to do that for yourself as well. And because there is this little cup right here with this little fishy in it, I do think you learned how to do this. They're showing me 22. Which is a master number. This is something that I feel like you mastered in Pisces season that now has become part of your new normal in April, in your birthday month. And the 6th house also has to do with health. So physical health, mental health, spiritual, emotional health. And that's also connected to this 10 of Wands in reverse, releasing the burdens, because I do think that by trying to push forward through might, your own agenda so strongly, it was having a negative effect on your health in all facets. Maybe that's why they're bringing me in hospice as well. Maybe you were in a little bit of that Four of Swords energy, having to rest, recuperate, recovery, almost like you overstimulated yourself through stress and anxiety, and maybe even a little bit of anger, and Pisces season kind of washed that out, and then you kind of had to internally rebuild a new foundation. But this is part of this, my peace is priceless, it's not worth the aggravation kind of thing, that you don't want to live feeling like you're having a tug of war with spirit. So this is really, again, part of this nobility and this maturation also has to do with you also really accepting divine timing. It's almost like not even surrendering. It's just like accepting. It's like, there's nothing I can do. I can wish, I can pray, I can manifest, I can shove two crystals together and pretend like it's a piece of flint. But at the end of the day, like, spirit's really driving the car here. Like, I'm just on the ride. I'm just here. It is a little bit like that. And I think that, yeah. And I think that that's hard for a lot of people, especially fire signs. The idea of not being in control of their own destiny in a certain aspect. But that comes from a lack of faith and trust that God and the universe and your angels and your guides and your higher self, who signed off on your whole entire blueprint before you even came down here, that they don't know better than you do for you. And there's something about that is also strange. They're bringing strange and unusual. It could even just be the approach and the energy that you feel about that, because, you could have been, I am the master of my own destiny. And then you kind of had to really kind of humble yourself and be like, well, kinda. I'm the master of my own destiny up until a point, right? But I see what happens when I take things into my own hands, and I end up hitting blocks, and I end up hitting delays, and I end up hitting road bumps, and I end up in situations or relationships or with people that are not really good for me. And I actually should have listened to the higher authority above my head, because they actually did know what they were talking about. Right, there is something about that, which again, I think is why they grounded you back into your humanity, kind of pulled you out of Hogwarts and put you back as a muggle for a little bit, because this was physical, fleshy, like ego, shadow work that had to be done. Because you have the King of Wands right here, and this is the pre-Emperor card, and the King of Wands, he makes plans and he follows through with them with passion and excitement, and he really drives things forward. So again, and this is technically falling out in your 7th house of relationships. So it maybe felt like everything came to like a full stop for you. Relationships, going out being social, work, your spiritual gifts. It's like everything went offline. I did a reading for Libra, and this is the Libra house, 7th house, maybe about a month or so ago, and it was called Restored to Factory Settings. And it was about everything kind of being unplugged and being rebooted like you would a computer or your cell phone. And it feels a little bit like that, like everything came a little bit to a crashing halt for you, and you saw all of these other hairs, right? All of these other people that seemed like they were walking in blessings. Good things were happening to them. Relationships were flourishing. Business was good. And you were just kind of stuck at like a very turtling around, like a very slow pace, but really having to take that in stride, But in this 8th house of death and rebirth, what did I say? The 4 swords. In this 8th house of death and rebirth, you have the 3 of cups. So this is the rebirth of joy. Oh, I get it. Oh, I see what you were saying before. Because I'm making something, and I have little bottles over here on my windowsill, and it says 3-ounce bottle. And I was like looking at it before I started reading, and I was like, 3-ounce bottles. I was like, 3 bottles, that's like the 3 of cups. And I was like, ounces are like little cups. Okay. But this is a rebirth of joy, and this is celebration, and this is like being able to reintegrate into society, but also reintegrate back into your spiritual gifts and your abilities as well. Also being able to go and like help people and use your gifts to help others, but without that edge of, well, what about me? Like, what am I getting out of this? A little bit, maybe in the past you were a little bit too concerned with like the energy exchange. A little bit of that 6 of Pentacles. Like, this isn't a fair energy exchange here, because I'm giving so much to other people and I'm not getting anything back. forgetting that if society drains your cup, God will come and he will refill your cup for you. So you never really run dry when you're supplied by heaven. That there is something in that. There is something in that. And they're all of these like gourds and these like fruits and stuff over here, which also does talk about Empress energy. So this is also you being able to turn this Empress card kind of clockwise back upright into the blessing, into the abundance. It feels very much like you went through a correction season. But April is a real, like, I'm hearing comeback kid. It's a real comeback kid, and sometimes we don't realize that. Setbacks are set-ups for comebacks. And it seems to be that is what was happening for you. A little bit like an arrow, how an arrow has to go backwards in order to really meet its mark, if that makes any sense. Because you have the Four of Swords in reverse now, which is coming out of hospice. This is coming out of rest. This is coming out of recuperation. Coming out of thinking about what you've done. They're showing me the grounded thing again. Thinking about what you've done. Thinking about what you've done. And it doesn't feel like you did anything like externally to other people. It feels like an energy that you were carrying around about your own agenda, how you thought things were supposed to go, how you thought things were supposed to be, and how that frustration was breeding a level of not feeling super grateful. But you're coming out of that now because it's in your house of spirituality and higher learning. It's the idea of when I push myself too hard, they're going to pull me back. When I'm not acting and operating from the right vibration, from the right mindset, from a pure heart, they're going to pull me off my mission, right? When I'm idolizing love and money and status, right? They're going to take it away from me. They're going to remind me who butters my bread. They're going to remind me that I can't really do anything without them, right? Everyone has gifts, skills, and abilities, but if you're not operating them right, it's a channel, right? They could start sending you information that is only about yourself, and then you won't be able to use your mediumship abilities for other people to help them connect. You won't be able to pull in messages for other people to help heal them, guide them, right? It's like that kind of thing. They give it and they can also take it away. And not everyone believes that, but I am someone that absolutely does believe that. It's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. But you know what's so interesting? How many times can you say interesting in one sentence, Lauren? I was saying that forged by fire before, and which is a refining period, right? It's like in the Bible when they talk about being baptized by fire, and that they were showing me the sword in the fire before you put it in the water. All of these swords are silver, but these ones are gold. Do you see that? It's like you went from silver and now you're gold through this refining process. It's an increase in value. It's an increase in value, but I don't think it's because you weren't valuable before. It's something about the importance and the purity of your like anointing of like what your mission is that is really coming forward in April in like a really interesting way. And they're playing me that is it Rilo Kiley? It's Rilo Kiley. And there's a song called Silver Linings. You had to find the silver linings in this. That's part of that whole noble Lydia energy. And there's a line in that song called I was your silver lining, but now I'm gold. So there's something about that you're intrinsically and eternally valuable, special, precious, always to God. Always. If you weren't, you wouldn't be here right now. But there's something about the way that you were operating before. Perhaps it came to a precipice in March. You were operating in silver, but you were always meant to be golden. Stay golden, pony boy. And so this setback, grounding, that kind of thing, it helped refine you. And now you're gold. Golden, I'm hearing golden opportunities. And they're pointing out the cups. The cups over here and this Three of Cups, they're all gold cups. The last weekly I had done for you, Aries, was also incredibly strange. Your energy is very strange and unusual. And again, strange and unusual occurrences are coming in for April too. That to other people, they might seem very strange, but because you've just gone through everything you've gone through, nothing is strange to you anymore. Again, perhaps in the past you would have been like, what is that? I don't want that. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to do that. And now it's like, you're just happy to be here. You're just happy to be here. You're just happy to be doing your work. You're just happy to feel like you're under the blessing, feel like you're walking in favor again, and things are speeding up for you. Things are going a lot better for you in April. Those dry places are being rehydrated for yourself. So you're seeing a lot of advancement in April. And I think that there is such an overwhelming level of gratitude that there's a lot less complaining happening from between you and spirit in April, which is really interesting. You're just like, okay, sure, I'll do the mediumship. I'll talk to the ghosts. I'll talk to the ghosts. Who needs a message? Who needs some Reiki? Who needs a message? Who needs a hug? I got hugs. Anyone need a hug? It's like, it's way more like civil service. Beautiful. Look at this. 10th house of ambition, Capricorn energy, the Lover's card. This is a card of Gemini, which is a card of choice. Maybe you were kind of dancing back and forth between the Devil and the Lovers before, because the Devil and the Lovers card is the same exact card, except one is a higher vibrational and one is a little bit lower vibrational. And the Devil also is Capricorn energy, which is very, very disciplined. So it's the idea of being a little bit withholding of your love, withholding of your energy, unless it felt like there was like a fair exchange, or like, I'm only going to do this if my manifestation is going to come in, and I'm only going to do this if the energy exchange. It's scarcity mindset. It's poverty mindset. If I give too much to other people, they're going to take too much from me, and I won't have enough from myself, forgetting again that you are always and forever supplied by heaven. And if you know that, you'll never run dry. It doesn't matter if it's love, energy, strength, patience, provision, whatever it is. But this is you in your house of ambition, which also talks about career, right? 6th house Virgo can sometimes talk about sort of like your day-to-day job, but not necessarily like a long-term career for yourself. Whereas Capricorn, it does talk about that. So in the past, you with this Gemini energy, you might have been like a little devil and angel, right? Lovers and devil, like on your shoulder, not really sure, kind of fighting between the flesh and the spirit. Whereas now you're operating in such a higher caliber of love and understanding and empathy and of service to other people. That is really, really interesting. And I know this is very esoteric. It's not necessarily so much of the traditional love reading those, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And this is also you being of a sound mind, being of a sound and a resound mind, that any plans that you have moving forward, if they're not coming out of a complete and utter space of just like love, you don't want to be a part of it. Again, and this is part of this, it's not worth the aggravation, it's not worth my peace, it's not worth getting in trouble or being taken off some of the paths that I'm on. So that way, it's the idea of, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to have to be refined, grounded, feel like I have to start from square one. Like I don't want to do any of that. Like I don't want to stay after school anymore. Like I just want to go in and I just want to like be a good noodle and do what I'm supposed to do, and then just like go home and watch cartoons and like enjoy my human life. It's a little bit of like that. It's not wanting to live in the rebuke, right? So this is the idea of, I don't want to make any plans and move forward with anything, whether it's love, sex, and relationships, whether it's business, whether it's utilizing my gift, skills, and abilities for the collective. I don't want to do any of it unless it's coming from a pure place of love. And if I feel for some reason that I'm not, I also feel as though you will take a minute. It feels like now you've learned to take a minute and process, why am I feeling that way? Why am I feeling competitive? Why am I feeling a little bit lack? Why am I feeling defensive or angry? Let me process that before I move forward, so I'm moving forward in the right energy, because I don't want to reap any kind of karmic backlash because of it, because a lot of this shit was strange and unusual. And so when this new strange and unusual shit comes forward for you in April, you're a little bit, okay, I'm going to take that in stride. All right, grandma, come on out. Let's talk. Let's talk to your nephew over here. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. It's a little of that all for one. I'm hearing camp counselor, moon in reverse. So this is a lot of clarity coming in, and it's coming out right underneath the 3 of Cups as well. So this is also you being very clear about the fact that this is the energy that you want to be in. You don't want to be sequestered. I never use that word. Okay. I don't want to be sequestered all by myself. Right? It's like being grounded. I can't go hang out with my friends. I can't play my games. I can't do all the stuff that I like to do. It's like bread and water and homework and cleaning my room. Like, I don't want to do that. It is very clear to me that when I'm not operating in the right energy, things suck. It is not fun. I don't get to go out and follow my manifestations. I get totally like grounded, right? Literally, physically. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. It's very, very clear to me. And then, you know, it's interesting that the Three of Cups is an extremely social energy. So even if like you put love on the back burner, it feels like you even had to put like your social life, like your friends, even like coworker kind of energy. You had to put that on the back burner too. And the moon in reverse, it comes out in the 11th house, and that is the house of friendships. So there is something about that. I also need other people. Sometimes natural emperors can be very comfortable and confident doing everything by themselves. Very lone wolf, animal spirit energy. And this is you moving more into the energy of it takes a village. And you being able to recognize that you also need help from other people. And you, with all this page energy, you actually can learn from other people as well. And you don't know everything, right? Because when we go through these very independent and isolated spiritual journeys, which it always starts out to be through our own knowledge and our own intuition and our own experiences, we feel as though we understand how everything works. And then when other people bring different experiences or opinions, we can get a little defensive to that and be like, no, that's not how it works. When really it's like everyone prophesies in part. Everyone gets a little piece of the puzzle. It's different for every single person. So this is also you realizing that, you know, 2 heads are better than 1. 5 heads are better than 2. That like it does take a village. And when I can stay in that energy of love, of incorporation with other people and their opinions, and allowing myself to learn from them as well as teach them what I know, there is a symbiotic nature about that is much more organic, and it allows everybody to expand, right? Not just you and your agenda, but the collective as a whole, the community, your social group, your place of work, your family, like the whole thing. Four of Cups. Yeah. Look at that. Emperor in reverse. So this is coming out in your 12th house of secrets. Something that might not have been known to you is that all the while, these 3 cups were sitting right here in front of you. The ability to collaborate, the ability to incorporate, the ability to learn from other people, have a greater social dynamic, work as a part of the whole and not be the whole all by yourself. And that in and of itself was going to be a new emotionally fulfilling opportunity for you. But during Pisces season, you know, in the Pisces house, unbeknownst to you, you didn't realize that you didn't want to participate because you weren't receiving your personal manifestations that perhaps you were waiting for, that you were denying the integration with other people. I'm not going to help other people get what they want when I still don't have what I want. And meanwhile, the divine was trying to tell you, you'll find what you want in connection to these other people, because you don't know how someone knows someone else and how that will lead you to a good idea or a piece of inspiration or to a person that could end up being your partner or to a greater friend group, like that kind of thing. Like, so you were looking at what was already in front of you, not really wanting to participate, not feeling super grateful about it because it wasn't how you particularly personally wanted your manifestations or how you wanted them to come in or when you wanted them to come in. So you were denying yourself at a new opportunity, which is why they kind of plucked you and put you back on the ground, kind of grounded you a little bit. And now after this process that you've been through quite successfully, might I add, in April, in your birthday season, you are now being given the opportunity to kind of go back out, come out of grounding, and go play with all of the other kids. And when you do that, some of these will be people in the natural, right? You were being a little controlling, and that was preventing Chariot in reverse, your movement with the 9 of Cups in reverse. Underneath that, denying yourself wish fulfillment because it wasn't coming in the package that you wanted, and thereby sticking you in the 5 of Pentacles, which is that scarcity mindset and the loneliness and the isolation. But you know that now because look, Page of Swords in reverse. You didn't realize that, but now look, 10 of Cups, surprise with the Tower. Everything's really coming together for you now in April, but you needed to have that little bit of a time out. And now, again, because you were able to handle this in a very noble way, you really took it in stride, realizing that like, this is not a system that I can fight. Because God and the angels and the universe and karmic powers are way bigger and more powerful than I am. I'm an extension of creation, but I am not creation itself. And this is not a battle that I'm going to win. So I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to eat my food and I'm just going to wait it out. I'm going to wait out divine timing. And because you did that, because you took it in stride, And because you took it in a good spirit, you not only are being allowed access back into the things before that previously you were removed from, but as well, they're also removing blockages that had previously been on your path because you needed to learn these lessons. You needed to learn this level of humility, learn this level of service, unconditional love, and dedication to what you were doing. That now things are really expediting for you, as well as, thank you, as well as all of these other gifts and abilities coming online for yourself. You wanted to go back to normal, but actually you're felt like you had to do summer school, but now you're moving into AP calculus. You have all of these other abilities that are coming online now. It's the idea of they could only come online after you hit a certain vibration. Could you access the expansion or the original entry point of these gifts and abilities, like such as mediumship? And because you have, they are coming online, which is why the surprise, which is what the Tower is. It's divine intervention, detours, some kind of unexpected event. I find most of the time it's internal as opposed to external, but it can be external. It's not necessarily a negative card. It is the 10 of Cups, which is complete and utter emotional fulfillment. This is happy relationships. This is family. This is the community at large. This is everybody thriving. Not just you, but everybody thriving. Right? When I win, you win, we win. So, Aries, it's a very interesting reading. I'm sure there are little Easter eggs in there for you with the Beetlejuice and the Rilo Kiley and the tortoise and the hare and all of that kind of stuff. It's a very interesting reading. Your readings have been quite strange and unusual lately. But that's pretty cool for you because that doesn't always come out in your reading. So it is a nice kind of change of pace. You've changed the pace for yourself. So I hope you have a very happy birthday, Aries. I hope that you enjoyed this reading. I hope that it was helpful for you, confirmed what your intuition was already telling you. We want to thank God for all of these messages, for allowing me to be a channel to help you guys the best that I can. And I love you. Have a great birthday season. And as always, you stay prayed up, and you stay blessed, and you stay sweet. And I will see you very soon. Goodbye.